like to see Alpha opt into picking that for themselves and then look for a jungle counterpick. As we mentioned though, Doidoi, Pocket Trundle does mean he needs to ban out the Nidalee if Liyab are gonna weather the storm that is your River's early map presence.
Interesting here, though. I like that Alpha actually has some respect over to Mocha. Mocha's had himself a couple of good games over on the board, as well as he had that Pyke debut that looked very promising. Lots of roam coming out of this support from the bot lane of Liyab, and again, another one too there. The Karma being banned out, more or less directed, though, toward Rex, as that has been his kind of go-to pickup for half of the games played so far.
Yeah, and before we saw Ashe really come into prominence as a very valid first pick, though I doubt after yesterday's performance any team is really itching to claim it for themselves, Dawn actually had a standout performance in his debut on that champion before she really, became pick ban in terms of meta.
And then we also mentioned, would we see this Nidalee ban come out up against your River? And the answer appears to be yes here, as Liyab just don't want to deal with that heavy aggression. Again, your River saved the game up against Resurgence last week, getting himself a Quadra on a base hold, and final ban from Liyab is actually going to be a set that's kind of a two-flex approach, one for Bush as well as Chen9, who has played it in mid lane as well.
Very, very prominent support champion at the moment too, with some really crazy engages thanks to Hex Flash and Nimbus Cloak. Pretty much the boogeyman of the PCS at this point, banned consistently in our games across this weekend.
Let's see though. In the mid lane, it's going to be the Zoe pickup here for Chen9. So again, not his nice unique champion. Finally going to have a repeat here in the mid lane, as he did play it, I believe, at the beginning of the split. Now, let's take a look and see what Liyab wants to try and prioritize. Do we want to see something like that Trundle? Do you want to try and get that Ashe onto Dawn immediately, lock that in, and then have your bot lane set and ready to go?
Yeah, you take Ashe, you maybe take Trundle or Graves if you really want to, or you just take a safe support to go alongside with the Ashe. Yeah, Red 2 Thresh is the safest support pick in the game. And yes, while the enemy team can play Nautilus or Blitzcrank into it, it is still a very difficult lane to actually pressure out or execute upon.
And if anything, it looks like Alpha just don't even want to deal with that. They instead say, we're going to get the Braum. We want to have that shield up and available for whatever you guys might be throwing at us later into the team fights.
Yeah, and you'll see an AD carry lock in here of the Ezreal just because you really need to get one down before, even more bans come out into that role. I like the Zoe, by the way, because it does kind of dare Liyab to have Rex sit on a LeBlanc or a Syndra and play the skill matchup. And of course, Chen9 more than happy to go toe-to-toe with any mid laner in this region.
Though, we have seen this one before, and Rex, again, this time around, gonna lock in the Twisted Fate. Had a lot of pressure across the map, wasn't involved with a lot of the fights, but still was able to take down the base rather easily on the side of Liyab when they were going up against Resurgence yesterday. We'll see, though, whether or not Alpha is going to allow him to go into this split push style, or are they going to make the call, go for those dives onto the 4 members left behind in a separate lane, and then look to clean house.
Yeah, main concern about this TF pick is that if you opt into the AP build Rex trends toward, it's a Rod of Ages kind of style, and that is about 20 minutes of game time where your River and Chen9 will have full dominion over that mid-jungle matchup.
Does mean, though, your River as well as Doidoi both have yet to actually show up at the jungle picks, and that means Lee Sin is going to be banned away here, as well as the Wukong on the side of Liyab, and it looks like for Alpha, want to try and get into the pool of Kanji, just try and take away some of those safe picks like that Mordekaiser.
Yeah, Graves being taken off the table as well does mean that we are now seeing probably a jungle lock in here, but I'd also like to see, a priority on the Renekton, because with Mordekaiser plus Wukong out of the picture, you're either defaulting to a tank in the Ornn, or you're going to rock something crazy like that. And if Renekton is locked in, maybe we see Kanji on one of his trademark carries in the Urgot, or even something like the less successful Quinn.
Yeah, we'd have to see whether or not he wants to go with the Quinn. I think it'd be a first for us, as I don't think we've seen Kanji play it just yet. But here for Doidoi, it is going to be the Trundle getting locked in, and we have had, our thoughts when it comes to the Trundle pickup, especially when paired with Rex. We feel like their mid-jungle duo has been rather inactive during the early part of the game, and that could get easily exploited here by your River and Chen9, as the Ornn is actually going to be locked in here for Bush.
This is a little bit frustrating to me because not only do you have Ornn kind of being that top laner that functions as weak side when you have a bot lane that's ungankable between Braum Ezreal, but as well as that, you're validating the Trundle pick by giving him stats to steal, by giving him a valid target to, well, target. And the only redeeming factor I see here is the fact that this Ornn can become unstoppable with the W and dodge out on the gold card gank from the TF.
But Your River now is going to have himself a Echo lock-in, which is going to be his first Echo we have seen so far when it comes to the split. And we have Kanji throwing down the gauntlet up in top lane, picking up the Camille. Second time we've seen her come summer, only played otherwise by Rocky from Nova.
Yeah, pretty crazy 1-3-1 comp now available for the Liyab here. They have very good split push, very good map control between their two globals, a Trundle and Thresh duo that are just rotating around getting picks as well. And honestly, Liyab, again, we're seeing them trend into compositions that are more difficult to execute, but way more rewarding if they can pull it off.
And like we've talked to Cabbage before, they want to try and go for some of these more experimental compositions that they want to try and get their players more practice on when it comes to stage games, when it comes to the tier 1 games outside of just doing scrims themselves. And we'll see if that's going to be the case. They were able to pull it off yesterday with Rex going pretty aggressive into the side lanes with the TF. We'll see whether or not they are able to replicate it against a much more aggressive squad in the form of Alpha. Liyab, if they're able to find the victory here, they would actually tie Alpha in the standings and actually be able to give themselves some room when it comes to the bottom of the table. Alpha looking at least to get their 4th win, and with that, maybe try and make a climb back up to try and get into the first round of playoffs, as our final game of the first round robin comes to an end here today as we go ahead and load on into the Rift.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Why are you giving that poor caribou a weird face, Abriz? Just like, what was that about?
Maybe I was giving you a weird face, Opal.
What? What did I do
or
to you?
maybe I was giving this mid-jungle duo of TF with a Trundle a weird face, because
Like,
what is that gonna do to stop the onslaught that is Your River and Chen 9 in the early game?
it has been something we have brought up before when it comes to Doidoi and Rex. It seems like the synergy.
Yeah, these are literally their champions.
This is literally their champions, and they literally just don't seem to work well with each other sometimes, which is kind of fascinating, because we saw the adjustment from Liyab at the beginning of the season, where we saw, Exosin actually go from the mid lane into the bot lane, and Liyab actually deciding to bring Rex over from Korea as their import, because they felt like that is the style of play that they wanted to do. They wanted to have a mid lane that was looking to be a little bit more supportive of their jungle, and, well, it looks like Kanji is going to be the one supporting here as they go for a quick invade onto the blue buff, and it looks like he'll be successful.
Yeah, tidy hook shot into a stun, into Bush just kind of walking away here. The Ornn going to be slightly delayed on his way to lane, but they have information as to where the Trundle will be. And yeah, honestly, I'm pretty happy with that if I am Liyab, because we get the counter jungle on the blue buff, and it does mean that when you see Echo move into your jungle, just throw out a hawk shot level 2 on the Ashe and really get all of that information that Your River is giving over to you.
You do see Doidoi is just going to go ahead, clear the entire top side of the jungle. We'll see whether or not Your River wants to go ahead and path over, as looks like there was a ward at least put down for half a second. It was actually the hawk shot. Or was that just the blue trinket? No, that was a trinket that was put down. It's expired. So they actually don't know where Doidoi is at the moment. He is going to show himself, though, mid. And Rex also going to go ahead, pulls out his cards. Not going to lock in the red, gold card. But does mean Doidoi is able to path right back on over to his blue buff. And it's up to Your River if he wants to try and steal this.
Honestly, end of the day, that is basically what Trundle TF do in the mid lane. Actually, tidy mechanical outplay on the Ornn there, by the way. Dodged out on the stun with the Unstoppable and traded back fairly heftily from Bush there. I know tanks don't really have all the mechanics in the world, but I was still, kind of thrilled to see that happen. Oh, your River detected by this ward, but still gonna force it.
Yeah, Kanji forced the flash away, has the hook shot available. Actually, no, it's on cooldown, unfortunately for him. He's going to have to try and avoid what he can as far as the damage goes. Gets a little bit of health back, but still not going to be enough. Doidoi over toward the side, but that's going to be first blood going on over to Bush in the top lane. And Kanji a bit too aggressive, and now Knockup comes back in onto Doidoi. Pretty low mana bars, though, from Bush. Not able to do a whole lot, as Kanji's going to go ahead and teleport back into the lane.
Yeah, gonna crash this wave on the Camille, pick up a few precious CS numbers, but that first blood going over into the side of Alpha, really showing you why the stats were looking like they were. Yeah, just greedy, clumsy, bleh.
Not looking at your map there, because he ended up using the hook shot pretty late after your River actually showed up on the ward, so maybe communication just a little bit of an issue there, or maybe inexperience. We did mention Kanji. First split actually playing up in the top lane, only learned the role about, 2 to 3 months ago, was actually supposed to be the mid laner for Liyab's academy team, but instead now has had to swap out of his comfort zone, and speaking of his comfort zone, ooh, he's not able to get the hook shot available.
Hook shot misses.
And there you go, Kanji now, unfortunately, even underneath tower, does feel a little bit unsafe as maybe Bush in your River looks for a dive.
Yeah, the double AP, well, double magic damage top lane jungle duo from Alpha, though, means that the Camille passive is super valuable here. It means she's not really under too much pressure, and once the Merc Treads are going to come through for Kanji, he should be in an absolutely fine position to dodge out on this. Ooh.
If he can, he's going to try and turn that one back around. Your River down to about 100 health. Kanji, though, still at 200 himself. Needs the cooldowns. Is he going to be able to avoid it? Here comes the teleport. That's such a late teleport if you're going to commit to it, as Rex jumps in, but unfortunately, he's not able to get anything.
He pops... Okay, no, that was just the TP giving extra move speed after TPing in. Thought it was Ghost from the spellbook. Not quite got that yet, and yeah, just late TP. Also, what is Doidoi doing? Because look at his camps. He hadn't cleared a single camp after showing top before, just randomly decides to reset, and then walk top again. Kanji kind of caught out in a very solo QE position. I like that they popped the Camille passive with an auto attack, so the magic damage could come through from both of them. Alpha play that very well, but Liyab looking like the Liyab we were expecting and not shown yesterday.
Yeah, a bit lackluster as Doidoi just continues to live in the topside jungle, at least, of Alpha to steal away camps, but that does mean objective-wise, bot side of the map is possibly open here for your River if he wants to try and secure some vision around that Dragon Pit, and we mentioned for Doidoi, this was an opportunity for him to be at least the king when it came to the neutral objectives on the Rift into this matchup. Alpha rarely do it themselves, but instead he's just focused on this top lane, wants to try and get Kanji back into the game, and let's see if that's going to be the option here. Pillar does lock down Bush, but guess what? Ornn is able to get himself back to safety.
Yeah, and because you show there, you give so much breathing room to key members of Alpha, especially those on the bottom half of the map. Yes, Chen9's holding his own mid, actually down in CS despite that, TP kind of shenanigans that we saw before. But think about the fact that your River here, free to do this Drake because the enemy bot lane reset. Of course, with the Braum on his team, it means the bot side 3v3 is winning in favor of Alpha. Pretty much a rule of thumb you can take with you is that Braum will always carry 3v3 fights, but here's a 3v1 fight.
Chen, though, is going to be fine himself, already cleansed away and gets himself back to safety, and with that too, Dragon is going to be secured here for Alpha, which is a nice change of pace themselves. Usually we don't get to see them take the first Dragon too often, and Liyab gives them an opening with Doidoi putting up so much pressure onto the top side of the map.
Pressure, yes. That's definitely what the Ornn just walked away from. Well,
he has shown himself is what I'm trying to get at Briz, all right?
Yeah. Honestly, though, my main concern here is that Alpha, ton of magic damage on this team comp. Ornn, about 60-70% magic damage, if not 80-90. Echo, about 80-90 magic damage. Zoe, about 100. And Ezreal, about 60 magic damage relative to 40 physical. So a lot of magic damage. That means Liyab, if they can, generate a little bit of a lead or just, get the defensive items before everything falls apart, should be in an okay position to, get to a mid-game teamfight phase where they are very, very comfortable.
We have mentioned, though, with Liyab, when they try and do comps like this, they lose out on a lot of those objective pressures, though, especially down toward the bot side of the map, and at the moment, Alpha, if they really want to, they could keep forcing the issue on the bot side of the map now that your River is you know, he's pretty comfortable. 2 assists so far on the Echo, not too bad. And they could look to start stacking up those Drakes and maybe look toward possibly a Mountain Soul if they get lucky on the RNG.
I don't think Cloud is that awful because it gives you more Ornn ultimates for more fun times, I suppose. But yeah, Rex now moving up top side. Of course, we mentioned that the Unstoppable from the Ornn is very, very valuable because it means that you don't get tagged by the gold card. Won't get you out of the ultimatum, but actually we have a contest here.
Here's San coming up over as well with Chen, and now Doidoi has to get himself back to safety. Bubble is going to land, but Call of the Forge God now onto the backside, able to get a quick knock-off. Doidoi going down low. It'll be a trade 1-for-1 as they do take down the Braum, but guess what? Now in comes that Chrono Break, and Kanji has to back off, and in the end, it is going to be a 2-for-1. Wei Lun now joining in onto the fight. Rex not pulling the trigger on the gold card. Now is going to connect on, though. It's still too early for this Ashe to do anything at this point, as Chen 9 not afraid to flash forward.
Yeah, cool attempt at a flash bubble there. Didn't manage to connect it onto the Ashe. And Liyab, they rotate for a fight that they were gonna lose anyway. They lose the Herald, they lose the team fight, and suddenly this game is not looking so hot. Alpha taking Liyab for the same ride they took Resurgence on yesterday.
And that's kind of an issue here now, where Liyab, they wanted to be aggressive early to try and open up the swift push possibility, but now going to try and think of a new plan here as they're not able to secure the Rift Herald.
That was almost clean by Kanji because he tried to hook shot and tag the Ornn on the return of the Call of the Forge God so that the knockback would be interrupted, but unfortunately did miss. Managed to pick up the Braum on the tail end of it, but still not a great turnout for our Philippines representatives.
Meanwhile, during that replay, you saw it was the Rift Herald pop toward the top side of the map. Wei Lun, unfortunately, seems to be the one man left alone on the side of Alpha. Just going to be a quick dive, and that's kind of what you want to see here from Liyab.
Yeah, aggressive, proactive rotation, not put off by the fact that they've lost the tower, they've lost the team fight, just ready and waiting to set up for these plays. I think Wei Lun thought he was safe just because A, where's the support? B, Trundle's always been top this entire game, and C, TF is really low on health and mana, he's probably reset. Unfortunately, not the case, as this Ezreal does learn the hard way.
And I'll be frank too, Rex, when it came to his Destinies back when he played Twisted Fate earlier on in the season, that was a very rare play we actually didn't get to see too often. So I actually do like that from Liyab. Rex has adjusted a little bit of the playstyle and is at least trying to find openings to try and get the team back onto the page, at least when it comes to this game in particular, as they'll get Dawn on the board and get this Ashe a little bit rolling.
Chen 9 has been underwhelming for me so far, looking at Rex's counterpart in that mid lane. No real pressure being exerted by the Zoe. Granted, his long-term duo in that Echo has just been floating around top pretty consistently, but at the same time, down in CS against an APTF who's a free lane for anyone, and you have to consider this was a Zoe that was prioritized as a first pick.
Yeah, they wanted to put Chen on this champion in particular, so unfortunately, you know, it's still a little bit later into the game. We'll maybe see the bubbles actually connect, and Alpha are still in a decent spot themselves. A 2,000 gold lead, control over now toward the Dragon as it now spawns, looking for their second Drake of the game.
Speaking of decent spots, with this being the last game of our first round robin, Alpha really looking to, you know, kind of push themselves up back into playoffs contention by walking away with a win here, while Liyab trying to escape that kind of doomed depths at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, you want to try and get out of there as Doidoi, I'm pretty sure Bush saw him. What is Doidoi doing on the top side of the map? Just
things.
Letting your river have full control?
I mean, he's past level 6 now, so you can drain the Ornn if you really want to force something.
No teleports available for Alpha. Again, they're running 2 cleanses, so they can't really answer this. Doidoi, at least, going to show himself, but Call of the Forge God just going to be used to clear the wave, and they get a turret plate in the very end, but unfortunately nothing else.
Yeah, 1 plate in exchange for the Drake, and a lot of pressure across the board here. Rex, actually, I believe, ghosted with the spellbook, so yeah, cool. Just forcing a lot across the board here. Alpha, a lot of good aggression early, while Doidoi, again, just fishing for plays that aren't really in the realm of possibility.
He's trying to be a proactive Trundle. I'll give him that, but we kind of built up. This was his opportunity, you know, to have, you know, control of the map somewhere to try and at least claim objectives for Liyab. But so far, he's been obsessed with the topside jungle of Alpha, and we haven't really seen it pay off. That Orin is still 3-0. You've yet to take down Bush, and you're starting to lose out on possibility. And now Rex is going to be the new target. As your River is just roaming around the map. We do not see an answer to Doidoi until now.
Yeah, good collapse and pincer maneuver coming through from Alpha. They rotated up their jungler. Their support tried to get a bit of a flank, bit of a pick onto this TF, but with Chen 9 low on mana and being a Zoe, kind of difficult to ask much in terms of an on-demand fight. That being said, though, by the way, this is basically the go-to comp of early 2020 without the Yuumi. Zoe plus Ezreal, so good at sieging, so good at poking, that if Alpha do transition this early game lead into a mid game, very difficult for Liyab to stand up against.
And speaking of top lane,
where else?
Living in the top lane, Unstoppable comes on through. The knockup's going to be there from Bush. They're able to get a flash, but last time they got a flash, Bush still was able to live for the next 5 minutes, so it gets pressure, but the rest of the map has been forfeited by Doidoi.
Yeah, Bush, he's on an Ornn. He's happy to soak everything up. Granted, he's an Ornn with a bounty, 3 kills under his belt, but at the same time, this is just clumsy from the jungler of Liyab. A huge force from this team doesn't really amount to much, and cool, you've got the Ornn's flash. Maybe that's a TF gank, but he still is unstoppable. He still has a team, still pressuring elsewhere on the map, and with 2 minutes on that third Drake, suddenly Liyab's prospects not looking so hot for the foreseeable future.
Hey, you know, it kind of makes me a little bit sad here that Doidoi's been having to, you know, go onto these trundles more or less throughout the season. That's a nice little roam coming out from Liyab, but instantly answered from the side of Alpha. Popping the teleport immediately. Rex is going to go ahead, get knocked up. Call of the Forge God going to be used, and that's 3 members lined up, ready to go. Rex gets himself back into stasis. That's going to be Doidoi getting taken down. The Twisted Fate will follow. And a play coming out from Liyab, instantly answered by Alpha.
Solid cross-map arrow from Dawn, but it's not enough to salvage that fight. Alpha, they get into the backline, they steamroll through it, and they pick up a kill on the Trundle to boot. A lot of pressure being exerted by Alpha here, and Liyab are just folding under it, giving kills, giving towers, giving yet another neutral objective in this second Rift Herald.
And the Rift Herald was very key to the victory yesterday with Rex, and now, unfortunately, they've given up 2, as well as it's still a long while before Liyab's really going to come online.
Absolutely, at this point, just really stalling it out are Liyab, trying to minimize their losses, and that's why I think it's greedy for them to be this far up in the lane. What are they contesting there? What are they trying to fight in bot river with no Drake up for 2 minutes?
And he also mentioned, too, as far as, you know, power spikes go, Rex is still waiting for another about 5 minutes. You mentioned the first 20 minutes, this TF is pretty much free. They do at least get their first tower, and we're starting to see signs of how Rex played yesterday, where he has just opted, said, nope, all right, team fights aren't working for us. I'm going to go into a side lane and try and get pressure elsewhere on the map while the rest of my team still keeps scaling.
And the issue with this side lane split push kind of focus is that Ornn can actually 1v1 Camille right now, and that means that Liyab's chances are severely hampered for when it comes to executing on this cross-map play. Zoe Ezreal will just siege you mid as well once this happens.
And poor Mocha, he gets some flash out, but unfortunately, phase dive followed through, and the Thresh will get taken down here. Wei Lun finds his first kill on the Ezreal, and we didn't hear a whole lot of Wei Lun so far in this game, but gets himself now on the board. This Ezreal starting to scale up. Already has in that Sheen as well as a Muramana stack.
Yeah, pretty tidy bubble to really set this one up, and then yeah, phase dive follow, Proto Belt through. This Thresh never really stood a chance.
And with that too, a simple pick right before a dragon spawn means for Alpha, they'll be able to pick up their third dragon of the game, and it'll be soul point for them at around 22, 23 minutes.
Not only will it be pushing them to a third Drake, but they continue the siege with that comp that we mentioned. doesn't matter that Camille and TF are doing their thing in the side lanes. What are they going to do? Take an extra tier 1? Cool. We take your tier 2 mid, we take control of the map pressure, set up vision around the Baron in the near future too, and, as you mentioned, push you to Dragon Soul Point at the 23-minute mark.
So now question comes for Liyab, and I have to ask, if you are Liyab at the moment, what are you going to do to kind of stem the bleeding? Because at this point, it feels like the game is getting slowly more out of control. Every time you try and go for a team fight, Alpha has been able to answer as of the last 5 minutes. Like, what do you have to do here?
Honestly, I'd say Liyab better off just waiting it out. Just play for the side lanes. As we mentioned, they have 2 globals. Take good picks, take good fights. Call back to where they picked off Wei Lun under the bot lane tier 1 and got out scot-free afterwards without losing too much. Force plays, but don't force them on the exact opposite side of the neutral objective you want to contest. That is something I wish had been hammered into Doidoi's brain prior to this early game for the Trundle. And Liyab need to be a little bit more disciplined about the kind of fights they're taking and where on the map those fights are happening.
Let's see, Dawn's going to be able to pick up the red buff still, though. Not even a level 11 at this point. Is the Siege going to come in? Your River also pathing toward the top side of the map. Rex, we mentioned, he gets himself back to safety. Bubble did connect, but got himself out with the Destiny.
Very, very close there. But yeah, as you said, Destiny just really ringing true for Rex. Unfortunately, one of those big globals that we mentioned and one of the big engage tools for Liyab now on CD, but with one split pusher drawing some attention, the other one can just freely move up in the bot lane.
But guess what? Alpha say, cool, you want to split push on a second tier tower? Like you mentioned, they still had a Rift Herald in your River. Jumping a little too far in, does have the Chrono Break available, gets himself out to safety. You saw Dawn almost gets taken on down. Bush with the Call of the Forge God, not able to connect. Dodoi with a nice pillar, but unfortunately, that is still going to be the end of his life on the Trundle as he gets taken on down, and it's a 20-minute exactly on the dot. Mid lane inhibitors, Kanji still not able to answer bot.
Yeah, very impressed with that pillar coming through from Doidoi there just to interrupt the knockback on that Call of the Forge God. Played it perfectly. Unfortunately, that's the best play he's made all game. And Liyab, they lose their jungler, they lose their mid inhib, and they will lose this Baron.
And this is extremely concerning, I think, for Liyab, and to an extent as well, Resurgence here, because Alpha, we've never, commended them for objective control, but this looks like one of the cleanest games we've ever seen. Rex over the wall trying to seal it back. It's not going to happen. Engage came out. Your son goes into stasis, and now the damage is still raining through. Rex gets taken down. True Shot Barrage finds all 3 targets. Doidoi, he gets back in spawn, but guess what? The rest of his team is going to be waiting back at the fountain, as it's going to be a double kill for Chen 9.
Fairly quiet early game from Chen 9, but the Zoe is now online with Baron buff, with super minions.
Ugh.
Alpha gonna march it down mid lane. 21 minutes in.
And this is dominant. This is a statement. And for Liyab, I think the question now becomes, you want to play these more stronger, these harder to execute compositions? Well, maybe you got to rely back onto the good old favorites, because at this point, it is a quick 21.5-minute game coming out from Alpha. Absolutely devastating Liyab.
And this is what we expected from the draft, because they picked scaling into a team that depends on their volatile early game. You gave Alpha pick of the litter. You gave Alpha a chance to do whatever they wanted, and it really just blew up in their face.
Unfortunately, too, like Liyab, they looked like they had, a spark yesterday. They were able to come alive, and then instantly Alpha just come on over, and they're just like, yeah, we're gonna fan that out. Just get out of here. Get out of here. None of that.
Yeah.
None of that. I hate to say it, but this really felt like a jungle difference game. I felt like Doidoi was just. I felt like he wasn't on the Rift. He was in top lane. That's where he was.
Yep. All of that proactivity we saw from yesterday just completely dissipated out of the picture, gone forever. Really disappointing to see Liyab fall in such a manner against a team that, you'd expect them to have to handily beat if they did want to take themselves just that little bit away from the bottom of the table. But with that victory, Alpha now kind of cement themselves as solidly middle of the pack. Yes, it's bottom of the middle of the pack, but it's still middle of the pack and well within playoffs reach.
Yeah, currently now sit tied overall when it comes to them as well as Nova, and to an extent now Hong Kong Attitude, actually a three-way tie. Let's go ahead though and take a look back at, I'm going to guess this was just one of the Rift Herald fights from before where, yeah, this just didn't really see anything much from Liyab.
Yeah, a bit of a late rotation, bit of a big commitment. And this fight, by the way, without Wei Lun on the Ezreal. He joins now at the end of it. So basically a 4v5 just completely dominated by Alpha.
And our MVP, it's going to be going up to the top lane of Alpha, being Bush, considering he had so much pressure thrown on top of him, but he didn't even die once. Currently sits 5-0-2 on the Ornn.
Yeah, did very well to soak whatever attention came his way, and as well as that, just kind of reward the rest of the team by consistently finding big engages and always applying pressure into a matchup that Liyab willingly countered in favor of Kanji.
So for Alpha, like we mentioned, they're able to go ahead and tie up into the standings as Liyab, they're still in that bottom two pit at the moment alongside Resurgence as well as Berjaya. We are though going to go ahead and take a quick interview with Wei Lun with Patty.
大家好，我是阿尔法 AD 魏伦。
OK， 好，那我们这边有几个问题想要问你。第一题是 Alpha 赢下这场比赛之后，来到了3连胜。那之前队伍中野与吉他路的搭配状况其实是有一些落差的，你们是有做了什么调整来取得这个3场的胜利吗？
So you guys are on a 3-game winning streak right now, but previously, before you guys start winning, it seems like your mid jungle were having some issue with your top and bottom communication-wise. So how were you able to win these 3-game winning streak? Did you make any changes?
就偏中上野，然后下路发育，然后就会赢。
So we focus on our fighting in the mid, jungle, and top. And for our bottom lane, we have them do a lot of farming. That's how we're able to win these 3 games.
那 Liyab 这一把其实拿出 PCS 比较少见的这种1-3-1分推的体系啦。那你个人是觉得他们是基于什么因素才尝试那么大胆的选法？
So Liyab have chosen the split push composition that we haven't seen in PCS, not very often. So why do you think they're able to use that, and how do you counter that?
可能我们边线比较容易被抓，他们想拿这个来打出破口。
Maybe because our top and bottom lane are easier to get caught, and they're trying to catch our top and bottom lane. So that's probably why they chose the split push composition.
OK， 那我们这个还是恭喜伟伦，也恭喜 Alpha Esports 在刚刚比赛获得胜利，希望我们在这个比赛可以再多加油。那他虽然说讲话比较少一点，不过他还是有把关键的东西抓出来。
Looks like it was Wei Lun, a man of few words. Only his second interview. Actually, did a lot better this time around. So congratulations over to Wei Lun. He's been actually working out when it comes to his interviews, but as well to Alpha, who at the moment now sit 4-5 when it comes to their summer split record. They're now in a 3-way tie for 5th place, which not a bad place to be considering the start and considering this is a fresh, brand new roster coming together. As we had doubts possibly coming into this split, they have been able to at least turn around some of their flaws, and we'll see how they continue to grow as we proceed now into our second half.
Yeah, thus concludes our first round robin, and honestly, we're already seeing a good separation from some of these teams.
Well, we'll see how the separation continues as we get set for now the beginning of our second round robin as we take a look toward Berjaya taking on Hong Kong Attitude after a short break.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.